Here he comes, bouncing again, bouncing back from the grave, Mr. Bennett. I love that. I love how when it goes on, you're already like this. I'm going to get one of those balls too, so we can both do that. That'd be fun. No, that's for sure. What does your shirt say? Never forget. Oh, I love that. It's like total retro memory storage. I love it. Where did you get that cool shirt? I love that shirt. Oh my God. But she loves the shirts. I love it. How's your week been, my friend? Oh, so what do your shifts look like then, time wise? Oh, okay, so 9:30 at night though to 1:30 in the morning. Okay, well it's not too terrible, eh? Do you like that? Fair, yeah. And you still prefer the night shift because I remember you mentioned that before. Do you? Yeah, you still get to wear your headphones when you're working. Oh, really? Yeah. They've been cracking down. Is that why? Mm. Yeah, I had a big belch. I didn't want you to hear it. I got the old Pepsi belches. I know it's you. It's so funny. The last time you and I were talking, I forget what we were doing, but I think I belched then too, or whatever it was, or we were just talking and like super casually. She goes, "Is it okay that you talk to your students that way?" I said, "It's Hayden, right? Like we've been that's the way we talk to each other for like the last half a decade." But no, I probably shouldn't burp at him in class. That's probably true, even though I just did. All right. Well, here, let's pull this up. I love it. Okay. Um, love what I read this week. Very little feedback, so it makes me feel like we are safe to move forward. Trying to see if I'm sharing the right thing. Yeah, there we go. Got too many P. Sure. Yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from. And you have options, right? Like ultimately do what you feel most comfortable with. And I think it's not necessarily an either or proposition either. Like you can have him show the thing that he actually has, followed by a 3D, because that's one thing, and I definitely don't have anything to push with that. I just always have loved when somebody builds a whole case around something that's like, let's be generous, 50% provable, this is fact, and the other 50%, which is required to make his case, is ultimately speculative, even if it's rooted in truth. And I think that there's just some juicy things you could be setting up for later if you lead us to believe early on. Like I like the idea that I would come out of his lecture, and it works either way, whether you do the 3D model or not. I think, but if I walk out of his lecture saying he might be right, he might also be full of shit, and it's sort of like, but which one is it? And I love the uncertainty of going forward and saying he's clearly got something. Like he doesn't have nothing, right? Like he definitely has a decent argument. He's made a good philosophical slash scientific argument. He's given some evidence, and there's question around whether he's embellishing the evidence. Like that's really the fundamental thing that's in question here. And Ms. Mack is Ms. Mack is clearly the one pointing that out, which is um, you might be onto something, professor, but a bunch of your fellow scientists question whether you're onto something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I, ooh, nice. Okay, I love that. Okay, so now I really want you to do the fake 3D simulation. If you're leaning into he's more showman than scientist, consider, at least consider, again, nothing to push, the idea that you don't have to have him show either the proof he actually has or a 3D model, that it could be like one then the other. And that's what's causing the question, which immediately, the reason that visually that's kind of interesting to think about, in my mind, the vision, the film in my head that I'm making as I'm reading your thing, is that that's almost immediately followed by Ms. Mac. And you've got those great other questions in there. So food for thought. But going through this, if you don't mind, I'll just go through it. Nothing to say, like, for a long time. It's feeling good. And again, I'm not worrying right now if it's all perfectly pretty, the spelling, the grammar, the exact wording, all of that. I think we're very much in the kind of the early stages of making sure the story is there. Little thing here is, rather than unending, undending. I think you mean unbending. That's the only spelling thing that I want to put out. I just want to make sure you knew what word I was suggesting. This is so not a thing you have to do. Easy to do. It's just a backwards B. What are you going to do? Right? This line where you say those so-called experts are wrong, this is a take it or leave it thing. You don't have to do it. My suggestion would be drop the so-called, because I like the idea that he continues to call them experts, because A, he can't get accused of crapping on them. He's simply ridiculing their arguments, and he seems to be, you've created a Professor Lake who is just this side of the line of going too far. So you've done such an excellent job of doing that. He used to be the guy who would definitely say these so-called experts. But my suggestion would be, it's stronger to me, at least, and this is just me, if he says, well, the experts are wrong, and leaving the word experts hanging there, so we get to judge whether or not they're experts, rather than saying these so-called experts are wrong. Again, don't have to change it, you can keep it. I think it's just as strong, potentially stronger, if you keep it just experts. Totally up to you. um Generally speaking, I love the way you're staging this now. I know this is a product in some to some degree of what we've talked about, but the way you've just made it so juicy now, the way he gives a little bit of an explanation, and then we go over to the students and the classroom reaction, or things that he's doing, or Lake puts the cup down, switches the projector over. Just the way you're staging it. The planet is too far away. The water freezes, rendering life an impossibility. He shakes his glass with the ice, nice, a little close to the star, and it disappears, rendering life an impossibility. More and more, the Hardy tardigrade. I think I would drop the second Hardy. There's within the same paragraph, you call it Hardy tardigrade twice. Not a big deal. I might just drop it. The argument is so solid, as it demonstrates life can endure conditions that would mean certain death for humans, etc. So much for perfect, etc., etc. So much for perfect conditions. A handful of students snicker and delight. I love that. That's so. Felt very Hogwartsy. I love that. And if the tardigrade can survive in such environments, deemed hospitable by our greatest minds, who knows what else is out there? Yes, yes, yes. This is good. You're setting up everything, I think, in a really dramatic fashion, and you're like, okay, this guy's good, and you're really showing your point, which is that he's as much a showman as a salesman, as he is a scientist. So I'm really getting that vibe. I respect him. I'm not 100% sure if I can trust him yet, but I respect him. This guy's got style. He's got panache. The flow is working. Just a quick question here, but this creature, which I have designated alien, the Latin word for stranger. You're just calling it alien. Is that what you're just saying? We're just calling it alien. Sure. Love it. No, that works. I love you're so pragmatic, and I dig that. They all watched the screen as the creature was eating something on a screen. I usually wouldn't stop and pick on a word. That's just an example. We might want to clarify they, just for the thing. I know who you mean. Just nice. Yeah. You could also do like every head in the room turned. It depends on what dramatic vibe you're trying to put down, right? Um, this is just a potentially something you want to change. Dr. Lake waved his arms excitedly before he could continue. A cacophony of voices drowned him. My suggestion is he wants this cacophony. So he's not as like, he waves his hand, and then if I'm doctor, I don't keep talking. I would be like, he expected this. He wants this cacophony. He wants everybody to go, oh my God, whoa, what? So I like the idea that he would sort of sit back and pause while, and it's almost like the reader, if it's me, I would go, oh yeah, he has planned every beat of this speech. He knew that people would go, holy shit, did you hear what he just said? So he would just talk, and then he'd sort of step back. So he's not trying to keep speaking. It's a minor thing, but it's suggestive of his personality, right? Take or leave that. We've just talked about the 3D thing, so we don't need to talk about that now. I just green highlighted the questions just to remind myself where they come in. This is great. Is there only microscopic life on Titan, or could there be large xenobiology? We can clean up the word right on Titan and on Titan. I'll worry about the way that's worded later. The key right now is the question is there. How likely is it that life from Titan could ever find its way here? Bingo. Great question. Good question. Coming over here, we get into Mac stuff, and it's solid. I really enjoyed reading all this through. Nice. But it felt perfect. Like you didn't go on too long with her. She shouldn't be too verbose, in my opinion. Read an article from Dr. Cloudy, wasn't 100% convinced. Booyah. Should have done more research. Yeah, I did that, and et cetera, et cetera. They found your conclusions weren't properly prepared. That's because they didn't have access to everything. Let's go in for attack number 3. Yeah, apparently you wouldn't let them see it. So boom, she's a great lawyer. She comes in with Dr. Cloud. Boom. She comes in with peer review. Boom. She comes in with, yeah, you were a bit of a tit to the people who came in and wanted to look at your stuff, and you were a dick, threw something at the head of the assistant. Boom. Like if I'm one of the other students and that's all she says, because it kind of is, what she does is she goes 1, 2, 3 punch and makes everybody go, ooh. And then she goes in for this beautiful jugular. I mean, I'm just quoting Rhodes based on my research, but he said there's been no independent verification of your claims, and says you might be more in love with science, less in love with science and science fiction. This girl is my hero. I love this woman. She comes in and she's just boom, 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 and then knockout. Perfect. Don't add anything more to this. I think just the pacing, the amount of time you're devoting to it, and in and out. And all I'm looking for, and we can work with it later, is I'm just looking for how this closes out with what Thomas and Rebecca do next. This is the best you've ever written this scene. Everything else is cosmetic. Let's move on, would be my suggestion. What are your thoughts? Yeah. Oh, that's going back. I've only been looking at the second chapter for a while. Let me go back here. Correct. Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so here would be my suggestion. The last time I got chapter 1 from you, let me just take a peek. I have March 12th is the last time I saw a chapter 1. If you totally dig it, why don't you, if you're into it, why don't you send me, have you made any changes since then? Okay. Now what I have here, hang on. Oh, what I have for chapter 1 is really, it's only a page and a half. That can't be right. Is that right? I'm going to show you exactly what I have for, this is what I have for chapter 1. The only thing I have for chapter 1 is this 1.25 pages. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to add anything new, my suggestion would be I'm happy to read whatever you send me. If you want me to read a redux of chapter 2, I'll read that. If you want me to read anything that's, significantly changed in chapter 1 because you want to get that published, if the combination of the two of them is not, I'll give you up to 15 pages, more than the usual 10. If the two of them together are ideally not more than 15, up to 15 pages, I'll read both chapters 1 and 2. It depends on what how ambitious you are in terms of getting some new stuff done. Yeah, you easily could. This could be like a sort of like any book does, where like what's now currently chapter 1, that's all written, and then there's just a big space or like the 3 asterisks you sometimes see between them, where it's like, okay, it's all one chapter, but this is clearly a break in time. However you want to do that. Cool. That would be awesome. No, great work. This was awesome, Hayden. It was a really, really fun read. And the big thing that stuck out was Ms. Mac's argument is fucking airtight. It's so good. And the way, love it. Yeah, and the way you staged the lecture, like the lecture now feels like a living, breathing lecture. It just pops now. It comes out, it's 3D. So yeah, great work on this chapter. Are you working tonight? Okay. Okay, well enjoy it, Hayden. And yeah, proud of you, man. Yeah. No, I'll send it to you here right away. All right, take care. See you next week. Bye bye.